And welcome to This Week at Worcester podcast. I am Tom Reno, editor at This Week at Worcester. This is my partner in the Gab, John Edward Keogh. He is the executive producer of Mary J. Media and the president of, why do I forget at this moment every week?
Hollywood Film Group.
Hollywood. Why do I want to start the word with woot for some reason? Hollywood Film Group. This Week in Worcester is currently running a series of interviews sponsored by Hollywood Film Group with filmmakers from across New England, dropping one a week. Check it out.
Big time stuff there. Hollywood news. We're getting all kinds of good feedback from the local film community. I keep getting hit up with people who want to have their stuff in there. So Tom and I will get there. I promise you. We're working on it. All right. I shared it to I was sharing it to all the groups, dude. I share it. That's what I do. I share stuff.
Yeah, I share it too. That's good. I appreciate it. First item on our agenda today. City Council's not done with WPI. There are two orders from the Committee on Economic Development. They are chairman's orders, which means I believe that is Councilor Merrill Carlson is the chairperson of that subcommittee, and she's remains unhappy about this. One request from the city clerk, appropriate representatives from WPI provide the appropriate representatives from WPI with a list of questions read into the record at the September 24th Economic Development Committee meeting. Outlining topics include the process the university used when acquiring the two hotels, how many LLCs are registered at the university's address, their current and projected endowments of the university's awareness of the impact the purchases of those two hotels would have on attracting events to the city, and the university's plans relative to student housing for the purpose of the university answering said questions. So they basically this order requests that the appropriate representatives at WPI subject themselves to interrogation, which I'm sure they won't do. And I mean, why would they? And the other order is the city council requests city manager provide city council with a copy of any legal notices created by Mass Development relative to hearings associated with WPI's purchases of those two hotels. Well, I always appreciate anger, kind of irrespective of where it's aimed at. Like, I just like angry people when they get people fired up and actually care about something and want to, fight about something, because that means they care about it, and that's good. But I'm just not sure where this is going.
So, I mean, one of the things is that I don't believe there were any public hearings required, right? Because this was a private sale, not a public sale, right?
She's asking, or the order is asking for, created by Mass Development. So I wonder if there's something there. So there's something more to that. I don't know.
I don't know, because as far as I understand, a separate. I mean, you got into the details. A out-of-state entity is the current owner of the building, or maybe not. Did WPI close? Did they close?
Well, yes. No, WPI now owns those buildings.
Right, and so they bought it from this private entity that was a New York company. So I just don't know that there's any. I don't know that Mass Development had anything to do with it. Maybe not. Well, you know what I mean?
Right. I think Mass Development was involved in the original development, though, and I wonder if something. I really don't know. But so can't really speak to that, unless there's something that isn't apparent here. I'm just not sure where all this is going. They're not going to answer those questions, and
So
I'm
like the
irresponsible. I'm irresponsible. Didn't look at the agenda till it was the weekend, so I did not have time to ask any questions about it.
so I read the week only because you sent it to me earlier. The 8A, which is very interesting.
It is very
8A
interesting.
seems to come. It does definitely come from anger, right? And so
Yes,
it's like um,
and
it's
that's
like
why it's
someone
on our agenda because I like
the,
it. I just
the
don't think it's going to get anything accomplished.
how many LLCs are registered at the university's address? Um, the current and projected endowment, as far as I understand, WPI's endowment is actually listed somewhere. They have it, like it's available. Um, and so I don't know that it's a secret. So that's not something that I don't even know that the city clerk can ask for that. I'm not 100% sure. But the LLCs thing is very interesting. So it's like, hey, like we're gonna really dig into you now at WPI. Again, if oh, we actually have a city councilor watching right now. I don't know if the city councilors are aware, but WPI is of all the universities is the largest voluntary payee into the tax offset program that they don't have to pay into. And again, a lot of smoke around this issue when you just handed a large TIF to an entity on Main Street that actually is bigger than the amount that you're going to lose here from WPI. So I just think that maybe you should consider setting your sights on some other issues regarding this, because this is a done deal. There's nothing you can do about it. It is game, set, match, WPI. And by the way, I'm not saying that I agree with what WPI did. I'm just saying WPI is doing what everybody else does, including the city, in relation to the way that they develop properties around the city. So it's already over. You lost. Sorry, don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I mean, there was nothing um, unlawful about what they did, and so it sounds like when the city manager spoke about this just before they had completed these deals. He spoke about this during the city council meeting. He was very clear that this is going to happen. They
Totally.
are going to buy these properties, so they were obviously, there was no wiggle room there with them.
As far as
And
I
it,
understood, when the letter came out that we've talked about, that was like right at the beginning of the closing period, and so there was only like a couple weeks left before the close of the property,
yeah,
and so I guess WPI could have pulled out. I mean, I guess the EDCC was thinking that maybe they could put public pressure on WPI and get them to back out of the deal, but obviously WPI's board of governors and the people who made the decisions over there don't care about the EDCC. And so,
nor
and
should anyone.
no, realistically, when you look at this again, um, you hear crying foul, and I appreciate that the crying foul is being done like to get this kind of like into the public record. Like, look what I did, to get maybe constituents happy with orders that are asked for and stuff like that. But it really amounts to nothing, because again, if you were going to fight for this, you should have been fighting for it all along, your entire time in the city council, against these kind of exchanges, which are regular here in the city of Worcester.
Yeah, and I just wanted to be fair to the facts.
Yep.
Um, the 340 Main Street TIF is I think 5.7 over 15 years, and this is 1.8 a year. So after you get into the fourth or fifth year, it is actually more. But nonetheless, I just don't understand tax. I still don't understand tax breaks for places that people can't afford to live. That at least are from here. Uh, expanding the tax base is good, but when we have a housing crisis, and I learned. I'm kind of diverting here, and sorry about that. I learned recently that there is maybe some mechanism to measure, um, number of actual shovels in the ground. Like the way I saw it presented was permits issued, right? So that means they're doing the work, not we're going to build a thing in a year and then we're going to delay it 3 more years, right? Talking about actually doing the work for housing development. But there may be some, at least, concepts out there of how to measure, permits issued, work being done for housing units versus how much it will actually drop the rate over time. And so the city should figure that out and tell us. So then we actually have some sort of scope to understand what we're giving this money away for, right? Like, is it going to actually get us closer to our goal, or are we not anywhere near the amount of development that would be needed to drop rent prices? And then, if that's the case, we should probably reevaluate what we're doing. But I don't think any of that's going to happen. Don't get me wrong.
I don't, and we'll get into it a little bit. I want to, when we touch a little bit on the strategic vision, I don't know that there is any sense at all that there's a idea that rents eventually will come down from this administration. So,
but it is possible.
It is possible. I mean, because supply and demand. I mean, it's always possible. It's just that the rent prices are still high, and those new buildings are coming online, and they're not full, and so the rent prices aren't changing. So you would hope that would shift people around in the city. Maybe you'd have some people that are living in, I know, in Vernon Hill would shift over to the ballpark, or people that are living in Grafton would shift it over, and then maybe those would free up some apartments here and there. But man, it's strange. Doesn't really seem to be happening that way. I wonder why. It's almost like there was a design. I don't know.
I mean, I
don't want to wildly speculate on the This Week in Worcester podcast, because we are a facts-based program here.
Try
So
to
we
be.
don't want
to. Yeah, we can bring that back up later. I don't know why I just went off on that tangent, but
okay.
I just wanted to bring these two orders up. I appreciate them, and again, the first one with all the questions that they want answered from WPI, it feels angry, and I appreciate that, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. I just don't think it's going to lead anywhere.
Yeah, and so I'm not saying, but I'm saying the city clerk might respond to that as saying they can't do it on 8A, because I'm not 100% sure the city clerk, just the way it's worded, request city clerk provide the appropriate representatives from WPI with a list of questions read into the record. I don't know that the clerk is a delivery service. So I'm not 100% sure that that's how that works. So again, I don't know. I don't know. I think that
well, you're going to touch on my other favorite subject then. Maybe if city council had staff and had its own public liaison that could do this work, but of course the city manager needs another public relations person.
So, but real quickly, I know in one of the other committees, the committee chair can write letters, because we've seen that those letters get written and sometimes even published in the newspaper. So the chair could write a letter directly to WPI and then release that same letter to the newspapers, and then have the newspapers publish the letter that they sent. So I just don't know why there's this extra stage of having to ask the city clerk to do this. And I don't know that falls within the purview of the city clerk. I don't know if that's his job or not.
Well, the city clerk is an appointee of the council, so I guess if they say it's his job, it's his job. And I think it's because he would have the record, right? And they read the questions into the record. I think that's what I'm referencing. But nonetheless,
how many LLCs are registered at their address? I mean, we can find that out. We could just do that right ourselves.
I don't know how you do that can you do that by address?
Yeah, you can. I'm pretty sure that there's like an address search on mass.gov. Let's see what we got. Live fact checking. Let's see. Can you search for businesses?
I mean, you can obviously look for corporate filings, but I don't think you can do it by.
Oh, actually, wouldn't it be the Register of Deeds? Registrar.
No, because not if they don't own property there. So let's work on this project offline.
Yeah, we'll do that later. Hey, maybe we can maybe we can have Katie Toomey, the Worcester Register of Deeds, come on the This Week in Worcester podcast. I don't know. I mean, she's running for office again.
She is. She should.
That's a Katie Toomey shout out right there.
That was a Katie Toomey shout out.
Not related to Kate Toomey, City Council of City of Worcester.
That is correct. Another order on the agenda for Tuesday, Councilor Bergman has a resolution proposed to support H2963 at the State House, which is an interesting bill by my personal favorite state legislator, Erica Erdehoven from Acton, who's just an amazing human being. And what this bill does is says that an organization exempt from taxation under, the blah, blah, blah law, owning total property valued at or above 15 million shall make payments in lieu of taxation on all real and personal property owned by that organization in the city or town equal to 25% of the amount that would be paid if they were not exempt. So it is, a 25%. They would be taxed at a quarter of the regular tax rate. This would be applied statewide, and it is relative to property tax. It is relative to, for cities and towns. First of all, the Councilor Bergman, who I like very much, is a very nice man. But him bringing a resolution for a bill written by Erica Erdehoven is different.
It's different, for sure. Very interesting.
Erdehoven was of many things. She is a bit of a what am I looking for? Does not appear to be the biggest fan of the institutional folks up on Beacon Hill, and I became aware of her. Must be 3 years ago now or so, when they were doing the house rules. It wasn't this past session, it was a session before, and she was kind of the lead of all of that. And of course, everybody bent over for the speaker because the speaker is a dictator in that chamber.
He is.
And so standing up to him, standing up to him gets you sent to the smallest office in the building in the basement, gets you the worst legislative aid on the team, and gets you thrown off of all the committees, which is where you actually make money to earn a living, right? Because the state rep earns 10% below the median income in Massachusetts, which is stunning. So
it is stunning, but of course, with committee assignments and chairs and all that stuff, you can do pretty good in banks. All you got to do is let the Speaker of the House just tell you what to do and do his bidding, and then and just compromise your entire core values and everything you ran on, and then you can totally have a nice, comfortable, fancy living. I'm not saying anything to the several of the members of the Worcester delegation that may or may not have regularly voted for what the House Speaker wants. But what I would say is she's one of my favorites too. There's like 10 of them like total. But when Diana de Goslio was before she became oh my goodness. Anyways, the one who does my brain just
state auditor.
The auditor, right? The one that does the audits. This was one of the few people that would vote for some of the things that she brought forward onto the floor. So that's you went out of focus a little bit on your face. Your camera just zoomed out for a second on you. So
weird.
Anyways, I do like people who tried that. You're back. You're nice and fancy now. Nice and clear. I want to see your pretty face. So
thanks, Spectrum.
So I do like the ones that like take a shot. It is interesting that Mo supported this or is putting this forward. I would say this: there is some questions floating out there, but there's some lawyers that have made a couple statements about this particular law, whether or not they can, if this will work or not, because it is a tax, right? So, and some of the nonprofits are formed federally. So does that, how does that work? You know, even though it's supposed to be a payment in lieu, it really has been in other states. Similar bills have been found to be taxes. And so, I don't know if that means anything. I'm not saying that it won't get passed. I'm just bringing that up. Again, I would point out that the entity we were just talking about, WPI, does actually pay the most of all the colleges and universities here in the city of Worcester, and that's the one we decided to go after in the same council thing here. I would say that maybe we could ask Clark, which has one of the bigger endowments of those. Maybe Clark could kick in a little bit more. I can say that because I am a Clarkie. Of course, I graduated from Clark last year. And I totally 100% wish that they would pay their fair share in taxes to the city of Worcester, which they do not do. And a lot of their wonderful administrators over there get paid, $150,000 and $200,000 salaries, and probably shouldn't, while some of the professors are struggling to pay their bills. But that's neither here nor there. I would just say that I support this petition or resolution, and say let's see if the city council will go for it. It's a non-binding resolution, so it is political theater, but at least it's kind of cool.
No, but I mean, but these can be important. They signal the sense of the city. I mean, the city government is behind this bill, and it's important to state that. I wish they'd do this more often, especially on, guess what, overdose prevention centers. But that's a tough vote, and so they won't do that. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I do think that the city is. I'm fine with these resolutions. I think it's important for the city to be on record where it stands on stuff that is relevant to the city, and this certainly is.
And what?
So I don't think these are a waste of time at all. Actually, I think it would, especially for somebody like with OPCs, for example. Gary Rosen is doing a lot of work on this. Dr. Steele is doing a lot of work on this at the state level, and that the city has decided to not say anything to support them is reprehensible.
Just ate a Reese's cup.
Very unprofessional, Mr. Keogh.
Live on air, man. That's how we get down.
That is how we get down.
Hey, before we move on,
yep,
I do want to say 10B, which is about Ava Ortiz, who was part of the U.S. tap dance team, going to the World Tap Dance Championships. That's cool. So go Ava, represent over there in Prague. I'm probably saying that wrong.
The second time you got it right. Yeah, I can't say that I'm tapped into the tap dancing world, but I did see that, and congratulations to her.
Good for Councilor King to, recognize one of our local youth doing something cool.
Facts. Up next, you wanted to talk about the 5-year strategic plan again, and I am very curious as to why.
So I read it all the way through, and
I'm sorry.
So, well, I thought that after you and I had kind of touched on it a little bit, I should actually give it a full reading, and kind of dig into some of the things that I see. So, I used to, I've done a lot of weird things in my life, like different things. Like I've had different jobs and different businesses and all that kind of stuff. One of the things I used to do a long time ago is that I actually would go to these business conferences, right? And so I don't know if you've ever been to a business conference. It was like entrepreneurs or how to grow your business. But sometimes they get into these patterns of speech, right? So they'll be the probably the easiest one for people to remember is thinking outside the box. So when thinking outside the box became popular, that's all you would ever hear at a meeting is, we need to think outside the box. Let's do some things outside the box, da da da. And then you would hear that kind of corporate speak, and it doesn't really necessarily mean anything unless you apply the things that you're saying, right? So it's a cool phrase, whatever. So in this document, right, and someone can fact check me if they want to, but I found the word affordable before housing, home ownership, apartments, and rents. Hold on, I wrote it down because Tom's gonna fact check me. 131 times. The word affordable. Affordable. And right in the best part about it is in after mission, vision, and values, in the affordable neighborhoods and reduced homelessness section, you find the most times that you see the word affordable. And it's just, you keep seeing it, affordable housing, affordable this, affordable. And I want to say, I don't know that the city, affordable in your minds, city administration, is not actually affordable for people. It is not affordable. So, there is a listing that I saw the other day for a studio apartment at the what's the building that's where the church was, where the Mount Carmel apartments, what's that called again? Something on the row, Alta on the row. Is that
Yep.
one?
Yep.
There's a listing. You can go on their website. There's a listing for a studio apartment. That's a studio. That means an apartment without a bedroom. It's usually a single room. And in this case, the studios are actually look pretty nice. They have a big floor plan. They have an attached kitchenette and an attached bathroom. And then there's like a living room, bedroom combo, but it's really one room. And, it's configured in an interesting way. And it's listed for $25.75 on their website. $25.75. And it is underneath this listing as an affordable thing. $25.75 for a studio. Okay. How did they get in there? Tom and I have talked about this before. They had to make a payment into the housing trust fund, right? So the way that they got away with not actually making it affordable, so to the median, 30% of the median and 60%, they don't have those in that building. They took some money and they paid it into this housing trust fund, right? So they're not actually affordable units, but they count for this building because they paid into this fund. Okay. But 25.70 is that how? No, you explain it better than what I'm saying. If they pay into the thing,
so you can either comply with inclusionary zoning,
Right.
or you can basically buy out the requirements, and then that money goes into the affordable housing trust fund. So I'm not sure why I didn't see the listing, so I don't know. But I'm not sure why they listed it as affordable at that price. Does it say affordable on it?
So so here's the thing. They don't claim to be making affordable housing. In their marketing, though, they use
okay. Well,
the word
yeah.
affordable. Like, this is an affordable apartment, but they're not saying it in the same way
I don't know
that
for
the
who.
city is in the vision. So what I wanted, but here's the thing. In objective number 1, in the affordable neighborhoods and reduced homelessness section, which, great. And by the way, it should be reducing the unhoused population. But hey, we're not going to get into going back and forth with words. But it says partner with nonprofits and private developers to preserve and expand the supply of protected affordable housing. So
that was the point. That was the point where I took my mouse and went to the top right corner of my screen and clicked the X. Is exactly right there.
So what? So this is remember, this is what we're talking is keeping now the heading says keeping the cost of living down. But we're allowing corporations to buy out the actual option that we have on the books for affordable living. By the way, the 30 and 60% median salary thing also is not affordable. It's not even close to affordable for regular people. It's affordable for people who don't yet live here in Worcester, or folks that already are making big money salaries, because $25.75 a month, if you really just think about it, is $30,000 a year in housing costs. I don't know about you, Tom, but I don't have $30,000 a month. And I will say to you this: there are a lot of single-family homeowners in the city of Worcester who do not spend $30,000 a year on their mortgage plus. So this, to me, is the root of nonsense. The root of nonsense. Think about what we're saying. We're saying that a salary, a $30,000 salary, which is basically what a minimum wage salary works out to be after taxes, right? Just around $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
Is we're going to take the entire minimum wage salary and pay for a studio apartment with it, which means, by the way, they cannot buy food. They can't pay their bills. They're going to have no lights, no internet, no heat, no hot water, but they will have a place to live in a very swanky building. This is the epitome of nonsense. And this strategic plan says to continue what the work that they have already done in the last 5-year strategic vision plan.
Did you happen to look up? Did you happen to look at the last 5-year strategic vision plan?
I did, Tom. I happened to read some.
It was 3 pages. I will give the administration that they did a much better job on this plan than they did on the last one. I will give them that.
I will say this: in the former strategic plan, it was only 3 pages long. The word affordable is present several times on those 3 pages. But well, I'll say this is that we have the results of that 5-year strategic plan because we have some buildings that were started and then finished during this thing. We have some projects that were started and then completed. All of it. That's a great question. We'll get to that in a second. What we have is results to point to in this plan, which is definitely an expansion. It's huge. It's documented. They got all kinds of data in this thing. You should read it if you're very interested in this stuff. It says that it continues what the 3-page plan did over the last 5 years. And I want to say that the last 5 years has resulted in studio apartments in the city of Worcester that are $2,575 a month. That was the 5-year vision before. Now, I'm not saying no one wants a studio apartment that's $2,575 a month, but I can tell you very much that the majority of us do not. And
like you said, that's like roughly 30 grand. Median household income in Worcester is I just googled it real quick because I couldn't remember the number. 63. So
half.
We're not talking about people on the low end of the spectrum. We're talking about people in the middle.
In the middle, they'd have to pay
half
in
the middle
of their income.
Yeah,
it's great. So Sean spends $22,000 on his mortgage after a refi. Sean, does that include your taxes? Because that's a lot too, even right there. So $22,000. That's a lot. And Sean, are you a 2-income house though? I wonder if Sean's a 2-income house. I know that he has a fancy, swanky job downtown.
And let's answer Oliver's question. We'll put it here on the screen. What happens to the money that they pay into the trust fund? So the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, it gets some ARPA money. It gets money from these developers who don't want to, comply with. They take the option to buy out the inclusionary zoning requirements. It's essentially a trust fund that's administered by, I think, 9 members that are appointed, and people that are building, basically developers that are building affordable housing, can go and apply for a grant, I'll call it, from that trust fund. I'm not sure if grant is the right term there, but it's basically a fund that the city administers to those building or to support building affordable housing. I think the Old Boys Club development by Wynn is getting, ironically, got some of that money. And I know there was another I don't know if you call them a developer, a property owner in Worcester that wanted to build something that was denied by that fund for a whole bunch of reasons. That's the only 2 I'm aware of that have been before that trust, the board that administers that.
Speaking of which, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund does have an opening. So if anybody watching wants to get in on this, you could go apply and become a member of it. Win. Not that win, Jeff. Different win. WINN, not WYNN.
Yeah. Win Development. They have
yeah.
Right. Yeah, they have the Old Boys Club they're doing now. It's under construction. They have the Vogue Lofts and a couple other properties in the city, but the Vogue Lofts is one of them that they developed. Um, so
So
yeah, go ahead.
So, I just wanted to touch on this strategic vision. Please, everybody, you should go read this. It really does read to me as a document that it doesn't really reflect the median to lower income parts of the city of Worcester. And there's this projection that Worcester is going to become, maybe a city that's viewed from outside in a much different way than it's viewed from outside right now. Um, and so I don't know if you remember that there's been like some magazine articles that have happened in the past year, like Worcester was ranked, as one of the nicest places to live and, higher rank. And so for those of you who read those kind of things and you go, wow, I don't agree. Well, here's why. Because that is actually the job of the city, the Chamber of Commerce, right? So, the Chamber of Commerce does do a really good job of advertising for Worcester. So, Tim Murray, that's what they do over there is they try to sell the city to outside entities, including magazines and newspapers and online rankings, because that levels up, the advertising, of the city. It makes the city look like it's a better place than it might be. Again, and it puts pressure on the population here because it draws in people with higher incomes to come into the city, into those, $2,575 studios, which then puts pressure on the mid to lower income folks to move out, which is a different way to raise your tax base, right? So instead of maybe taxing some of the corporations at a different rate, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in higher income people that can afford higher things. But that doesn't really connect, in my mind, Tom, with what this document says, which is to try to lower the cost of living. Or it says keeping the cost of living down, which is a very interesting way to phrase it versus actually lowering the cost of living. So are we considering the cost of living now to be down? Because it says keeping it down, right? So that phrase kind of says like we want to keep it the way it is and not have it go too much farther. Not actually lower the costs. But as we all know, the rent is too damn high. We really need to lower the rent.
Thank you, Vermin Supreme.
Vermin Supreme is the man. And it is so true, 100%. The rent is too damn high. And it needs to be low.
Right. I wanted to just answer Jeff's question real quick about when, ironically enough, Mr. Keogh here and I have a piece that we worked on together a little bit back. It is on the homepage of This Week in Worcester under the column section, and it is titled "Former City Manager's Firm Accused of Rent Price Fixing." So yes, Wynn is one of a dozen or so, if I remember correctly, companies that are involved in a class action lawsuit about their use of software called RealPage. Pieces on the homepage right now under no, it's under featured, not columns. It's under featured.
And it was a great article, and we worked really hard on it.
We did. Indeed, we did.
Yeah. I'm not biased or anything like that. So, all right. The second thing I wanted to talk about real quick is if you go oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Am I?
No, go ahead. No, all you.
So in the economic growth section, we kind of touched on it a little bit. Basically they want to expand the tax base through private investment in housing, commercial, and industrial developments. Okay. And then it talks about making the application review process and encourage greater certainty and predictability for developers by increasing responsiveness and timely review of development applications. So this idea is that developers are they're really uncertain about their ability to get buildings built in the city of Worcester. And man, it's really hard for them to go through that application process that they have for the RFPs. And that's a really difficult thing for them to overcome. So the city wants to streamline that process and make it easier for developers. But the focus is on bringing outside development in. And so what I want to talk about real quick is the fact that the city also looks outside for investment and doesn't really look inside for what I would call investment growth, right? So you have a small to medium-sized business that is local here to the city of Worcester, and you don't really see a lot of investment from the city into those buildings. And I'm not just talking about the city administration here, right? The government of the city. I will say that all the para business operations that exist, they want to bring companies into Worcester, but they make it really difficult for companies that already exist here to grow and expand, right? Unless, of course, you have a hit. If you have a hit, then yeah, they want to get on board and they want to take credit for it, right? But so what I want to say is this: is that to really truly enhance economic development in almost any iteration of human society, it's almost always internal development that leads to economic expansion matched with outside investment, right? So it's like, hey, this is a local Worcester thing, whatever it is, and we're going to help grow that. And I think a perfect example of this actually is, and it was a picture that Jeff took on Facebook recently about the new branding for the Midtown Mall. So the Midtown Mall is no longer the Midtown Mall; it's called at the Commons. And so it's very much gentrification, right? You got this like this brand. You can even look at the font. The font is a very common font that you see in neighborhoods where they're trying to kind of enhance a certain thing. Now, I will say the owner of the Midtown Mall has done a pretty good job of getting small businesses, local businesses in there, and you do see some kind of economic growth there. But he's done it basically without any help from the city. And so, and I want to speak to that. That's the thing. Why are we investing in outside companies and making the process easier for them versus helping, local companies continue to grow? Especially when we see it being successful. You would think right across from City Hall, you would want that to happen. But there's still a bunch of little places that are boarded up. What 2,000? I have no. Oh, at the com. You don't like the at symbol, Sean? It is yeah, well, you know what I mean. Someone was on Canva and they were working hard on Canva to make themselves a nice little logo. But so, let's talk about that. Let's be accountable. Let's ask your city councils about that. Why is that investment not happening? But not just that. Um, let's talk about those local businesses, the Chamber of Commerce, these other big organizations. Why are we not asking them to be accountable for who they're investing in as well? So that's just my overall thought, is that this document reads like the developers heavily influence the text, and I don't know that anybody who's a regular person, and I'm saying that I'm a regular person, it's hard to read. Because it doesn't really speak to anything that I understand or know unless I do the research to get it, right?
I
And
don't
so
I don't know that I don't
go
know that
ahead.
it really says anything. It's a bunch of we're gonna cooperate with
Right.
people
It
to fix
doesn't say
stuff.
anything. That's what I mean.
Nope.
It's
No
coded.
benchmarks, no funding, no detail is the bottom
Yeah.
line. It's chock full of no detail.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but it doesn't seem like they spoke to a lot of the people. And I still, the city manager said in his letter at the front of it that he included all these folks in it and the Worcester Now Next program. I actually have an idea to talk to Guillermo Creamer, who was one of the folks that was at the head of the Worcester Now Next, and really see how many different people he spoke to in the process of developing that plan that kind of fed into this document. Um, was it hundreds? Was it thousands? Was it tens? Because I'd really like to know what they think means they spoke to the whole city, all the different affected groups. And I'm not trying to favor one group over the other. I'm just saying in general, how many people did you actually talk to form a document that you said is the entire city's document? Because it doesn't read that way at all.
Well, I mean, Now Next did a lot of work trying to connect with people, had a bunch of meetings and whatever, et cetera, et cetera. I don't mean to demean it, but I mean, they did a lot of work. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't understand what a municipal strategic plan is. Maybe it's this is what it's supposed to be, and then the details come through policy, implementing these things that are in this in this document. But for me, it read like something for the public, and I don't want the thing for the public. I want the real thing. And the real thing tells you how you're going to pay for any of this. The stuff that isn't, we're going to basically expect other people to do it, at least, which is a good chunk of it. It just doesn't. Yeah, no, I agree. Oliver said Now Next was really good about reaching out. and they did a ton of surveys and events and whatnot. I totally agree. You know, and all that input's important, but like once it comes to the final, okay, here's the actual plan that was a product of Now Next. It's like, we're telling you we're going to do some stuff. Cool. Like,
Well,
I hope so.
I went to several of the meetings too. I talked about it in particular. I discussed it pretty, I don't know, regularly with Guillermo whenever I would talk to him. And my question is that in Guillermo's proposals, in the Now Next surveys, there was very specific questions, like very detailed, specific applications of how they were going to take people's ideas and apply them. This document has almost zero specifics. Right. I'm not saying it doesn't have any, because it does have a couple of specific things, but it's very light on the specific details. And so that's what I mean is, how connected is it? It seems to be saying that this is based on the work of Now Next. Now Next was much more specific in my mind than what this document reads. Right. So that's just really where I find it confusing. It's really ambiguous, but there's a couple of them, and I'm going to give credit to one of them right away. We actually talked about this last week with the director of the Worcester Public Library, Jason Homer. He's done a lot of work towards, making, internet resources available, connecting people at the library. And I went yesterday to see the unveiling of the mural on the side of the library, which came out spectacularly. It looks awesome. And, you got to give credit to the Worcester Public Library and the downtown Worcester Business Improvement District group, right? They have done a great job. I'm not saying that they haven't. They've done some really cool events. Manny J Media, we were part of the Out to Lunch series, got a lot of local vendors involved. And so it's very strange to me that you read a document like this while you have side by side some work over here that seems like it's good work, right? So how does the language not connect to the things that you actually see? Well, if you go look in this program, they do take credit for the things that Jason is going to do. It is what it is. And that's because they see that Jason is an effective administrator and he does a good job. And so what they're doing is they're projecting that he's going to continue to do a good job. And they're anticipating that they're going to get some credit for the things that he's going to do. And so in this document, they anticipate that and take credit for it. That's really actually visionary leadership, right? It's like, hey, I see someone with a lot of talent, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take credit for the work that they're about to do. So
that's my guy right there doing all that. Yeah, that's my guy.
Absolutely, that's my guy right there. So good on Jason for being an effective administrator and a good worker, and Lisa Malo, and let's see, Victoria Mariano and Yafa Fain and all the group there. They work really hard, and I give them credit for the work that they're doing. So don't let me not say that no one is doing well, because there are some people that are doing effective, real good work, but it seems disconnected in my mind from. Oh, and so Jeff's a perfect example. So Jeff's got Fam Jam and the Worcester Renaissance Project. And Jeff, I'm telling you, as soon as you get successful, they will take credit for everything that you did. 100%. Just be ready to get celebrated, to invited to all kinds of events. Get ready for the key to the city as soon as your project takes off. Which, by the way, I think Jeff's ideas that he has are really good, about this idea of this kind of groundswell of local people being involved with all these outside events, and not just that. He has a much more specific a program to develop. But just be ready, Jeff. They're going to take credit for everything that you do. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and I agree. Great job on the mural at the library, for sure.
It looks dope.
For sure.
Like there's been some that's the other thing. The arts community here in Worcester. Not to say that I'm not a part of the arts community, but the arts community in Worcester really is super talented and super diverse, and just they're amazing. You look at some of the spray painted murals, look at some of the other murals, some of the public art installations. There's some amazing artists in the city of Worcester, and so they do deserve the credit that they that they don't often get, and so good on them for good on downtown Worcester and the library for picking a local artist to actually put it up there, and I'm working on something with them, so I can't completely reveal everything, but there's something that Manny and I did that's going to be a part of that project. And so I don't want to completely go into that, ruin it. But anyways, it was really cool stuff, and I'm not surprised. And it is right. It came out really nice. I enjoyed it very much. I thought it was beautiful. I went down at night. Manny got to go during the day, so Manny got a cool video of it going across, and then I got a similar video of it going across at night. And behind the young person that's reading a book on the mural, there's like these lights up there, and it's just really cool. Yeah, we'll go down when you get back, Jeff. You can go down and see it. It's going to be up there for as far as I understand, it's a permanent installation.
Yeah, I believe so. So last week I promised a rant, and I hate to disappoint.
Go for the rant, bro.
So we have a law in this state related to public records and access to them. The law says that any state agency, municipality, government agency, whatever, has to have a records access officer for whom you can go to and request records. And there's a number of exemptions, but the presumption is if the government creates a record, it is a public record. Naturally, the State House, when they wrote this law, they exempted themselves and the judiciary and the executive, but executive agencies at the state level you can do, and then cities, are really the one that cities and towns are the one that bear the brunt of this. The law states that they should provide the records within 10 days, and if they can't do that, they can ask for a 15-day extension. So, and this is business days. So you have a total of, if they say we're taking the exemption, 25 business days. But it's really, 10, the extension of 15. And they can then, if they want longer than that, they can get it, but they actually have to ask the division of the Secretary of State's office, the Public Records Office at the state level to do it. Well, I have 3 I've been waiting for. They're all over 100 days, 100 business days. Weird. And so I finally appealed. This is the process that's provided for in the law. You appeal to the Public Records Office. And their determination was the supervisor of records said that I've learned that the city intends to provide you with a response. That was mid last month. Within 10 business days. That was mid last month. So they apparently either somebody's lying, and I assume it's not the records officer, the supervisor of records, because she's got no skin in the game.
Right.
So they would appear somebody lied, and I'm still waiting. And lo and behold, just a quick question for you, John. When is the deadline, as we know right now, for the completion of some sort of decision on the Charter Spectrum contract?
Well, Tom, that is a great question. I happen to know a little bit about that, being the former chair of the Cable Television Advisory Committee, and the deadline is October 31st, Halloween. So at the end of this month, there is supposed to be a decision on the cable television license, and the board is currently defunct, so it cannot meet and it cannot approve an extension of the contract, right? Which currently under the city charter is the process by which they would get an extension, and the extension could be 1 year under the current terms. And of course, they're defunct because we all resigned in protest of the city manager's response. So the city manager would have to do something very questionable charter-wise by extending it himself without notifying the public, or hold a public hearing where all the city councilors can be present in relation to this contract. And he has until the end of the month to call for that hearing, and it is his responsibility to do so. As far as I have seen in any of the agendas, that has yet to be scheduled.
So I don't want to say too much here up on that topic, but let's just say that
be careful.
Let's just say I would be surprised, based on what I've heard. I would be surprised if there was an extension.
I would be very surprised if there was an extension. I also would be. I would say I would be shocked if there was an extension.
Absolutely shocked.
I would be shocked.
And so, really, after they've done this now, it's calendar days. It's about 160.
Put Sean's comment on the screen. That's great.
So we're talking, 150 calendar days, and here we are on the 6th of October. So that means if they hold out on these records that I've requested for 25 more days, I don't have any information to write about, and they could just, I don't know that there's anything in the records that I've asked for, but giving me nothing until this is done and over with seems like a motivation. But that's not the only one. You see, I have record requests from April and March that also have not been fulfilled with no explanation. And so, and this is really, as is typical of the Massachusetts legislature, they passed a bill without any real enforcement mechanism. The people at the Division of Public Records are amazing, are very kind and try to be helpful, but they don't have a hammer.
Right. They have no way to enforce it.
Right. And so all they can do is refer to the Attorney General, who very, very rarely has the Attorney General's office taken up any of these cases. When Maura Healey did, she took up one and then said that the Worcester County District Attorney's Office, who's refused to close a case that was 50 years old or something, was still had an active case and therefore didn't need to release records. So that's the kind of the history here.
You mean Governor Healey, who promised to be the most open and accountable administration in the history of Massachusetts governors? Do you
mean the same governor that that on the same ballot that she was elected, the stupid voters of Massachusetts also voted for a new tax that she then counteracted by lowering taxes for those very same people?
Oh, that would never happen, Tom. I really find that hard to believe. I really do. That's just,
That'd be ludicrous, right? To just defy the will of the voters right in their face, just spit in the voters' face. It's amazing. Anyway, let's not get off topic.
It's not like the state that calls itself the most liberal in the country. It's not like they, I don't know, they allow a rogue agency like the state police to just get away with, 16 days of not talking about someone that they murdered. I'm sorry. Allegedly murdered. It's not like that would happen in our state at all, right? That would never happen here because we're the most liberal state in the country, right? Right, Tom? Right?
We're so liberal that we don't. If we're the second largest city in New England, we apparently don't need to follow state law.
Oh wow! So apparently not. And not only that, by the way, the cable television advisory. The cable television license is actually governed by a federal law. So apparently, maybe the city manager doesn't need to follow the federal law either. So there's no enforcement mechanism at any of the law. It's very interesting.
Yeah. So, I am not the Worcester City Council, who constantly and repeatedly just accepts taking it on the chin from the last administration, this administration. When they ask for things, they don't get them, and they just say, "Thank you. Can I not have another?" I'm not them. Um, uh, I mean, I have a list of orders here from June. The number of orders that haven't been filled, that aren't even on this list, are too many to count, which means they just have never had a plan to fulfill those orders. Never mind that there's orders on the list from last year. So, but I'm actually interested in my own rights, unlike the Worcester City Council, and I will. Oh, mark my words, will I get these records?
Not only will you, and not only that, and I've said this many, and actually, it's very interesting because there happens to be 3 city councilors currently watching our stream, Tom, right at this very, very moment. And so I will say this, and I've said this very clearly, the cable television license is very, very much on the record for next year's municipal election. And part of the political calculus that I see both the city administration and the city councilors taking on this issue is that you think that it will go away. But the problem is that I am an ornery and stubborn and basically just irascible Irishman, and Tom is an Italian of the same ilk. We're not related.
How dare you? How dare you? I am Sicilian. Those northern people are French.
Sorry, Sicilian of the same ilk. But as you can see right there with that response right there, right? So I just want to say that it's not going to go away. And I said it last week. I actually went ahead and got the data because I want to make sure that I'm always fact checking myself when I'm around Tom Marino. And I have personally led to the cutting of the cord, the cable television cord, for 1,741 individuals in the city of Worcester since I resigned as the chairman of the Cable Television Advisory Committee. And I will continue unabashed to help people get away from Spectrum and get on to other competitors. Now, I'm not going to say which company
I'm ranting, and you're talking about cable.
Yes, because the cable is very much the issue. It's not the issue, but it's one of the symptoms of this problem, which you're talking about, which is accountability in our city government. See, they think that the process by which they have their seats, and I can't say every single city council because there's some city councils that are also frustrated with this process, but they think the process by which they get their seats is never, ever going to change. Right? It's always going to be the same. They're going to be able to get their constituents to vote, and no one will ever get upset enough.
Well, no, I mean, I don't look. I regardless of that, I think that they. I don't know. I know to some degree the council. Some more than others. I talk to some fairly frequently, and others very rarely.
I'm even related to a couple of them.
And I think they all mean well. But there's just this. Don't ruffle feathers and I mean, look, and I've said this a million times that they're overmatched in the battle because they have no resources. I mean, the city manager's executive office has a budget of $500,000 more than the city council, which just added 3 people. But I did want to point out on this though, that
yes, John, I am.
It's interesting about these records. One, because again, they told the records office they were going to do something and then didn't. But I mean, one possible thing here could be, very likely even, that all records requests that go to any city agency go through the legal department at City Hall could be they're understaffed, and I would buy that. That's, however, not my problem for 150 days. When we're at 150 days, I no longer care what the problem is. Right. But that could be a reasonable thing. But then if you go on the city's website, you know what they're hiring in the legal department? A litigation attorney.
Oh, because maybe they're anticipating litigation?
I mean, for a city that has never wins anything at court ever, basically, that we're gonna, you can't deliver records, you can't comply with the law, but we're gonna hire another litigation attorney.
And how do we become I know we like to do these callbacks a little bit to the as the show is going on, but if you go back to the vision the strategy that they have, one of the things the city manager says is he wants Worcester to become the best managed city in the country, right? And how do you become better managed? Well, you have to have the ability to deliver records under the open records law, and they don't have that down. They just don't have that down. It's a difficult process, and it's not to say that the people that give the records are the ones making this decision. The person who sends the email or actually has to print out the documents, that's not what we're saying. There's somebody making a decision somewhere to sit on this. That at this point, there's really no other thing that we could say other than they're sitting on this, because what information exists that's going to come out with Tom knowing about the cable television contract and related emails and phone calls and maybe, I don't know, the information that was exchanged? What is in there that's so bad? Could it be that some of the speculation in the press that's just not true at all? It's a 100% false statement. Could be that maybe there was some truth to it. And maybe that Tom went scratching at something that you don't want to be scratched at. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And that's really the job of the local press. It's our job. It's our job to hold people accountable, man. And it just really seems like people don't want to be held accountable. It is what it is. Not everybody, not everybody,
there
but
is,
a lot.
and there's a culture at City Hall that, this was very, very prominent in the last administration for sure. I would say maybe less so in this one, but still there. And that anything critical, anything, there's only two good news sources in the city, and the new one, and the second one's pretty new. It's the TNG, because they want their access, and boy do they get it. And the state-run media that was founded by the guy who sits in the secret meeting with the city manager every week. They get plenty of access. They get all the access they want. Naturally.
How dare you, Tom?
And anybody else is a problem, right? Because you're not complying with the dear leader's narrative, and so therefore you're the enemy.
And it's not that we, by the way, the group of, I guess you would call us maybe with the Worcester New Media, we don't all agree with each other about everything. Like, we disagree.
There are scores of things I can't stand you on.
Right? We argue about stuff all the time, but the thing that we all kind of have in common is that we just want our leaders to be accountable to us, because we also are people here in the city. I'm a resident here. I live on Irving Street. I can walk to City Hall in about 5 minutes. And I think that the city leadership should be responsive to me and to other people that live in my neighborhood. And they're just not. One of these are issues that we have talked about on a regular basis. The city is just not responsive. It's just not. That's just the way it is. And so why is that? And it's gotten better. I will say this, that there are some individuals who are great, but not enough to change the full culture of City Hall.
Well, I'm not the only one this happens to, and I'd like to provide some other examples. For example, on May 9th, 2023, the City Council supported an order coming out of the Urban Technology Committee to procure a feasibility study on municipal internet. Now, the city manager's informed us that would be impossible. We're too stupid to do that. It's impossible. So
even though Shrewsbury did it, but hey, no big deal.
Yeah, but that's a small town. Oh, but our tax base is much huger. But nonetheless, that's a debate for a different day. Point is, he didn't want to do it, so he didn't do it. Councilor Bergman on July 26, 2023, request Director of Emergency Communications and Management to provide City Council with a report detailing the city's current methods for warning residents of an immediate emergency weather event such as a tornado. Didn't want to fulfill it, so we didn't. Councilor Carlson on August 31st, report concerning number of individuals utilizing various tax exemptions and abatement programs offered within the city. She was talking about this last year. Not important. Doesn't matter. Not on his agenda. So the people that we elect can't get information. Councilor Haji, now this isn't surprising, but provide City Council with a report concerning the policy to consistently allocate funds received from the disposition of land to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Didn't feel like answering, so we didn't. I think Councilor King, August 31st, same meeting, August 31st, 2023. Report concerning policies and procedures city related to recoup unpaid property taxes. Didn't fulfill this report, even though it didn't make the decision that it wasn't going to do that anymore. I'd use the equity seizing portion of that when the state made it illegal. That's when they decided. Until then, they were fine with stealing your property. Councilor Nguyen, also not surprising. Report concerning dates of homeless and campus sweeps, etc. July 26, 2023. So I don't know. I mean, there's stuff from Councilor Rivera on here that was never filled. There's stuff from here from Councilor Rose never filled. What is not here, however, because I actually asked about this one, and the administration told me, oh, well, that was part of the I think it was no, it was the rental registry. That was part of the rental registry debate, and now that that's solved, we don't have to fulfill this order from Councilor Russell on what is the policy to create an ordinance. See, because that power is specifically allocated only to the city council, which is our legislature in the city. And the administration's position is it's got to come through them. And they don't want to put that in writing because it's the most ridiculous argument in human history. But they don't want to put it in writing because it would be transparent how stupid and ridiculous their position is. Councilor Toomey, actually doesn't have anything from last year. It has something from January, though. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. I know that the administration thinks that I'm the enemy and all this, and I have ethical lapses because of my interest in the city charter being because it's a piece of garbage and allows this nonsense to happen. But I'm not them. So make an enemy. Yeah. Dare. Double dare.
Double dare. So, I mean,
follow the law from the law department.
Or just
get somebody who will.
Well, again, you have this, you have this attitude, and I think this is related to what we're talking about, that hopefully the national election will water over these issues and we won't ever deal with them. We won't ever need to have them resolved again because people will be so focused on what's happening at the national level that it won't matter, Tom, and you'll just go away and you'll stop asking questions. That's what they're hoping, is that you'll stop asking questions.
Good luck with that.
Because remember, next year when the municipal elections happen, there's much less voter turnout, there's much less interest, and so there's a hope that these issues just won't be brought up again. And that's generally been how it's operated in Worcester now for 40 years, right? Is we just wait until the issue blows over. That's why you hear a lot of pushback. The city manager actually went, on several media places and accused me of being a liar until the mayor said that I wasn't a liar. Because he didn't like the fact that the cable thing stayed in the news for as long as it did. But it did because that particular issue is important to me, and I want to fulfill that. I can't take on every single issue, and I think that that's really what ends up happening in the city, is that people get spread out and they don't really go at everything. In this particular case, you've been going at a very specific section of what's happening in the city, and they don't like that. They don't like people to be passionate. They don't like people to ask questions, and that has to change, right?
No, hold on. There's a very obvious, very, very obvious perspective coming from the administration that is going to protect all of the power that it shouldn't have, but has.
Oh yeah, of course. Power always always wants to retain authority, right?
We should actually start keeping track of this stuff and have a line on like have an over under. We'll like give out fake currency to people that are, we'll give out like points, like fake currency to the people that watch us, and we'll take bets and see who wins the contest, right? I don't want to do it with real money. That's stupid. But we can, we do it with points or whatever.
Well, we could
what do you think the over under is on Russell's order on the process they need to change to amend the charter so they can actually do stuff with the budget and not just be ordered to say yes, or the mayor's order from a legal opinion that's already been written. I can hand it to them, but we need to wait for it to come through the solicitor. On charter change, on putting a charter commission in place. What do you think they're going to come through with that?
Based on the current, I would say the over-under is like 9 months.
Yeah, no, they'll do it right around the time that it would need to be done to get on the ballot is what they'll do.
And so that's the thing is like, for the folks that watch, and I know that our show, we've been getting a lot more viewers lately, and we're very grateful for those viewers. You got to hold your city councilors accountable. You got to ask them these questions. The only way that anything gets done in the city is a little bit of pressure. And so it stinks that it has to be that way, that they can't see the thing. But remember, there's a group of people, a concentrated group of people that believes that the way that it currently is the best way. They are convinced of it. They are true believers that their way is the best way, and they're going to keep doing it their way, which is this kind of
I'm going to venture
thing.
I'm going to venture to speculate that maybe John Adams and James Madison had a little more advanced ideas on how government should work.
You mean people should? Are you saying that direct local officials should be directly accountable to the people, Tom? I mean, how dare you?
Or the principle that was heavily
debated. Check that out of hand.
Here comes the history nerd in me. Or the issue that was heavily debated both in the Massachusetts Constitution, which passed before the federal Constitution, was written about in the Federalist Papers and was modeled basically after Massachusetts. John Adams was instrumental in writing them both. Was the separation of powers, which we have wholly violated in every feasible possible way. They don't do this in towns, by the way. Towns have a differently organized system under state law. Yeah. They only have one branch of government. Cities very deliberately have two.
And actually, there's very interesting legal arguments to be made here about it probably is unconstitutional. However, to prove that, you'd have to have a loaded attorney willing to push it all the way, right? And I mean,
I don't know that it would be. I don't know, because it's been approved by the State House. So if the charter's been approved by the State House, it doesn't have nothing about separated power. But I mean, it's just bad civics. Well, the way the charter's written, or at least, I don't even want to say that in this case, the charter has plenty of problems. But in this case, it's the way it's been interpreted that separation of powers wasn't interpreted by having two branches, which cities have.
So what I'm saying is this, is that the city council has over the past 40 years really voted itself less power on a consistent basis. And some of those changes are direct departures from the actual charter language, right? And so my question is does the city council even have the right to give up the powers that it gave up to the city manager's office that have become the effective rule of law in the city of Worcester? And that's the kind of novel legal question that I would bring up. I don't even know that the city council has the right under the current charter to give up some of the things that they gave up, but they have, because there's no effective tool to challenge that, right? There's no real way.
I don't know if it was ever done any differently, though. It certainly wasn't under Augustus or O'Brien. It was largely the same. I think see, and this is the problem with the system. This is, I think, really the core problem, and this is why, I think that there are lots of merits to a hired executive, right? To a city manager, or there can be, and I worry that an elected mayor is just a popularity contest. And do you really have your chief organizer of operations at the top of the food chain that way? You could still have effectively, the chief of operations or whatever under an elected mayor, but nonetheless, I do see a lot of merit in having a city manager. Uh, However, you then have an incentive. What the problem is for elected people, you've incentivized now. Let him take the heat, and I can protect him.
Which is funny because we went to Fitchburg 2 weeks ago, on the first of the Wooburg
That was good.
connection.
That was a good interview. I like her. That was a good
And
interview.
Sam Squalia, who's the mayor of Fitchburg, she actually directly addressed this. She actually said that it's really hard for her politically because she has to make actual policy decisions related to the budget, and she has to say, well, we can't do that because we don't have this money, and so the answer is no, and she has to take direct accountability for that with the voters. And she says, she actually said in the interview, if you go back and watch Manny's interview, she says, um, I wish I had a city manager who could take the heat from me on that. And so that's very interesting from an elected person's perspective, that the most likely scenario would be you would want that person to be the buffer in between the people and you, right? The hard decisions that have to be made. But so in this case though, Tom, I don't know that it's the same hard decisions. I think there's a concentration of power and money in a very small group of people, some elected, some not. And they like having the buffer so their decisions can't ever be questioned. And then it allows them to maintain the same kind of level of authority, influence, whatever, however you want to do it. And so that's the thing that we're trying to break. It would be awesome if the city manager was just the manager, but in this case he's not. He's an unelected, super powerful official who can directly affect almost everybody in the city of Worcester's ability to do anything. And so that's the scary consideration, because when we talk about authoritarianism, and I'm not saying that he's an authoritarian, I'm not
No.
saying that, we worry about a concentration of power like this in a single individual. At the national level, we always worry about that. But at the city level, we don't. And that's really strange that we wouldn't have these questions being asked. And then when we do ask the questions, they're like, well, this is how it's always been done. That's not a real answer. That's not a real answer. So how do we make effective change? I think what we're doing right now is part of the process, asking questions and not being afraid that someone's going to be offended. Believe me, I walk in City Hall all the time and I have people tell me, why'd you say that? Or why'd you ask that question? Or why'd you do that? Because I'm allowed to. That's why. And if you don't like it, you really probably shouldn't be in the position that you're in. So be less sensitive, because it's my right to ask these questions. And I also want to stand up for other people who maybe feel like they can't ask the questions, right? Because there's people out there who feel afraid to ask. Let's ask the questions. That's it.
Yeah. It's the last administration certainly. I know somebody in our business who wrote a story and was called into the former city manager's office to answer for it because it wasn't glowingly positive. I mean, that's what these people. This is the craziness that these people operate with. Um, like you're going to be in that position and not be criticized, and what you should be wondering is why you aren't being criticized more, and what that says about the political system in your city, regardless of what position you're in. Um,
The best
but
thing you can ever have in life is someone who cares about you and the decisions that you make and questions what you do. It's one of the best things ever to have, because if you just
Facts.
unilaterally get to go through your life and no one ever questions you, you're going to do stupid stuff because you're a human, right? Every human does stupid stuff. We all do. And that's the one guaranteed fact of human history, right? People do stupid stuff, usually to other people.
Yeah.
So the thing is having someone ask you questions makes you at least stop and think about it for a second, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do it that way. That's it. We're not even necessarily looking for you to be tarred and feathered, or locked in a pillory. We're not looking for that. We're just kind of like saying, hey, I don't know, the rent's too damn high and the cable bill's too damn high and there's too many potholes in the street and people are crashing all over the place. And can we try to fix these issues and like have somewhat of a better life for people? Is that okay? Is that like bad? I don't understand why that's bad, but it seems like it's bad because it affects the developers and the investors and the concentrated power elite that have existed in the city for 40 years.
And
That makes me mad.
we're way over, and I just want to wrap up on this records issue. This city, the city of Worcester, is, well, let me word it this way. There is one municipality of all 351, I think it is, municipalities in Massachusetts that has actually been assessed damages by a court for its failure to comply with the public records law. That's the city of Worcester. And they also paid Gannett, the company that owns the Telegram, paid their lawyers all kind of $100,000 after it was all over. So they not only paid damages and their lawyers and had to give up the records. In a long line of the city absolutely just getting bludgeoned when it goes to court. And so, I'm going to start talking to lawyers, and I would imagine that this isn't exactly a tough case. You have a city who, again, fails to comply with the law. I mean, if you want to pay another lawyer, that's fine. If that's worth, if spending the people's money in litigation is more important than providing some records about the cable contract, well, I guess you want to play.
I guess
I don't really want to play. I want to do my job, but you're preventing that, and it's really starting to piss me off. And
by the way, if you would like to help pay for Tom's job, This Week in Worcester podcast is always looking for sponsors, and you're more than welcome to jump on with your small business and support Tom doing his job, which is to, irritate the city just a little bit.
Yes. And and for the city councilors, if you're still watching, expect petitions at city council in the near future about this.
There's currently 3 in the chat, so just hanging out.
So yeah, I mean, if you want to hear this rant at city council, encourage him to keep doing what he's doing.
But hey, Tom, the 3 city councilors and several city officials and some of our friends here are waiting for the best part of the show.
Yes, so, we're way over, so do it.
Okay, so the best part of the show, guys, is that every week I ask Tom something fun, and this week I came up with something that's completely out of left field. We've done his favorite cookie. We've done his favorite movie.
Time out. Time out. Most important part of all this is how this works now is so what your resolution is to get those records is to go to court. And if you can't hire a lawyer, right? If you're a regular person who just wants records about your government and you can't hire a lawyer, you're SOL. And big companies like Gannett can hire big-time lawyers from big-time law firms and get those records. It's just another example of corporate fealty that comes out of City Hall. Now I'm really done.
Okay, all right, sorry. So Tom needed to get one last rant in to prepare him mentally for the question that I'm going to hammer him with right now. And so all of you, I know you're waiting for this with bated breath, but I'm going to ask Tom Marino, what is your favorite dinosaur?
I mean, I'm going to give the weirdest answer. The reason why is going to be hysterical. Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl. Okay, why yes. Pterodactyl?
Because back in the day, now many years ago, when I was very active in the local music scene, metal scene, punk scene, whatever, whenever somebody had like a certain, it's hard to explain, but a certain pitch of screamy lyrics, we would call that the pterodactyl. And I mean, that was a thing that we said a lot. That is the dinosaur I am most familiar with. In other words, I'm not so interested in dinosaurs. Like, they're cool and all, and it's cool that they existed, but it's just not my thing. So that's the dumb reason that I picked pterodactyl.
Okay, so now this is something that you probably wouldn't know. I'm a dinosaur dork. I actually have a stuffed T-Rex back here. But pterodactyls actually aren't dinosaurs. So that's something that but that came out after you were in high school. They're technically,
so I wouldn't know.
They're in an expanded class. of flying reptiles. They are not actually related to the birds of today. There's a different line, a lineage to get to the birds of today. But anyways, that's a separate dinosaur fact. My favorite dinosaur is easy. It's simple. It's basic. It's T-Rex. T-Rex all day. And why T-Rex? Because he's got a big, giant thing and tiny little arms.
You're gonna make me look stupid, but I don't know that I could name another dinosaur besides a T-Rex and a pterodactyl, which isn't even a dinosaur apparently.
Oh, Stegosaurus.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. But I will tell you this: there's a lot of dinosaurs you probably know that don't really exist anymore, like Brontosaurus. That actually has been reclassified.
Well, I'm going with no dinosaurs exist anymore.
Well, actually, technically, there's some lizards that could be classified. That's right. The Loch Ness monster, plesiosaur. That's a great one. And so Nessie's floating around. You know what I mean? She could be found. By the way, the famous T-Rex that we all have is probably not scientifically accurate. The small arms are probably not right because most likely the bones that were in the big famous one at the New York museum had been added. Such a random question. Yeah, but keep going. This is what we do, Jeff, at the end of this Week in Worcester podcast. I ask a random question with my stuffed dinosaur, 40-something-year-old man with a doll. But yeah, so dinosaurs are great. The reason I brought up the dinosaurs this week in particular is because when I was at the thing yesterday, there was a couple kids. He's a dino denier, like. Oh my goodness!
I'm not denying dinosaurs. Good God! Look at this! Look at this accusation! Horrible slander against me. Horrible slander against me.
Oh, this is so good. This is the best part. We should do a show just on dinosaurs. We do a whole show on dinosaurs.
You host it with anybody else.
Okay, absolutely. Maybe Jeff and I can do it.
You can stream it to This Week in Worcester. I'm all for it. It just I don't. What am I going to do? Let's sit there and look stupid. I mean, I know that I do that here, but I would look extra stupid not saying anything.
But the thing is the reason I brought this up is yesterday I was at that event where they unveiled the new mural, and there was a bunch of kids there. They were going on the Ferris wheel, and they were able to do something in downtown Worcester, right? They were able to go and do an event kind of right there in the middle of the city. And it was something that made me think about like art history and stuff like that. They have the Worcester Historical Museum, the Worcester Art Museum. They're a little expensive, related to how much the local population has. But what we don't have? We don't have any real cool things related to natural history here in Worcester. So maybe that would be a cool thing for us to have, is some kind of Worcester Natural History Museum where you could get your own bones of dinosaurs. Because to me, growing up, my dad, when I was really young, brought me to see T-Rex at the Natural History Museum in New York, and I was always in love with dinosaurs after that. And then, of course, The Land Before Time came out, and that was it for me. And then Jurassic Park, they were like back to back to back.
Land Before Time, my God!
So it's just think about the kids and being able to do stuff in downtown Worcester. It would be kind of cool if there was something like this, science related, that would allow them to do there. I think there were only really small dinos. That's true. Sean, what we call North America didn't have as many cool giant dinos as they did in the rest of the world. It would be so much cooler if they did, because maybe there was some bones that we could dig up and show. But anyways, that's it. That was my question of the week. Tune in next week. There actually might be some dinosaur bones in Worcester, but they're probably small dinos.
Thank you. Thanks to Jeff for stopping in. Shawnee's kind of a regular. Appreciate you as well. And there was somebody else too in the comments that I apologize for forgetting, because there's a bunch of comments. Oh, Oliver, thank you also for stopping in. We do this at roughly 8:30, kind of 8:35-ish, 8:40-ish every week on Sunday. And you got the format. We talk about some stuff, and then John acts like a fool with his dinosaur thing, and then we check out. You got anything else?
That's it. Oh, wait. One last thing. So if you're watching, Friday is the red carpet premiere of the Dirty Gerund poetry show documentary, which was directed by Manny. It was edited by Leanne, and it was produced by me. It's at the Park View Room on Park Avenue. We are literally almost out of tickets. So if you do want to come and check that out, the tickets are only $12. Go on HollywoodFilmGroup.com and click on the part that says Dirty Jaron Poetry Show and get yourself a ticket for $12. And that's really it. That's all I got.
And if anybody's not familiar, this is a weekly I think poetry reading at that's been happening at Ralph's for 150
every Monday
years.
night. The Dirty Jaron Poetry Show.
Yeah, it's been happening forever. So there's a documentary on that. Thank you for everybody in the chat and whatnot. Thank you to you, Mr. Keogh. Thank you to you,